Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to day 13 of March Madness. I'm Laura Serrant, and I'm an inclusive leadership specialist and a coach. Today, as you know, we're going through the alphabet, and we have reached the letter L. The letter L in this alphabet of musings, reflections, and thoughts from my 40 years of work stands for listening. Now, listening is much more than just using the one of the five senses that we have that's situated here in our ears. Listening is about giving attention to a sound or an action. And that's much more than just hearing the sound. Listening is an active pursuit. And it's about not just hearing the sound or hearing what someone says, but actually trying to understand it and what it means. And that means that listening is a purposeful act. But what is the purpose of listening? Often, we actually don't listen to understand in the way that it's referred to here. Often what happens is that we listen in order to be able to reply. And that's probably the least useful part of listening. Listening to think about your response is a really poor way of listening. And that's often where we create problems. Misinterpretations happen because we don't fully take time to hear what somebody's saying and to make sense of it from their perspective. As business owners, as leaders, and as human beings, poor listening is often at the root of poor communication. It also shows a lack of respect. But active listening is about more than just being quiet. It allows others to not only hear that you are listening to them and illustrate that you understand what they're saying, but it also allows them or helps them to hear themselves. Active listening requires attention. It means that we are focused on making sense of what's being said and what's being communicated to us. And sometimes what's being said is not the same as what's being communicated. In fully trying to understand what's being communicated to us, we listen to the non-verbal cues as much as the verbal. In active listening, we pay full attention to not only the words, but also the posture and how things are said. Active listening is non-judgmental. We don't jump to make a judgment or to come to a conclusion before we've had time to not only take in the words, but actually think about them in context, in the context of time, in the context of whatever else is happening, and in the context of the thoughts and feelings of the person who shares the information with us. We need all our senses to actively listen, not only our ears. Being present and active listening is absolutely key, as I've said. And that means actually taking time to think about the consequences and the things that go alongside the thoughts and feelings that are being shared with us. Being present in a conversation demonstrates your commitment to understanding the other human being and your commitment to making sure that the correct or appropriate response follows. Stephen Covey talks about the fact that actually when we are not listening to, that most of the time we don't listen to actually understand, but actually listen to formulate our reply. And often that happens much before the person has actually finished saying what they need to say. Here's an interesting fact. The word listen has exactly the same letters as the word silent. And those of you who know me know that one of the key messages in many of my podcasts and in my work is that silence speaks. Isn't that interesting? That actually, in the silence, where we hear the sounds, we hear the words, we hear the meanings that people don't always have the words to say, is actually the requirement to listen well. So listening actively means hearing what is said and what is not said, because the true message lies in both those domains. So as we move forward and we think about how we can ensure that we keep our leadership, our business acumen, and our humanity intact, listening is at the centre of all of those things. There is an old proverb which says, "No one is as deaf as the person who will not listen." The lion and the lioness at the centre of the pride listen attentively. They listen for the slightest sound, the slightest change in the wind, the slightest change in the manner or the demeanour of the rest of the pride, because that's their clues to assure themselves the pride is fine, or to alert them to the dangers that may be lying ahead. Listening to others, listening externally, absolutely are key. But don't forget in all that to listen to yourself. When you listen to the sounds that occur within your own self, what do those sounds say? Because equally, they are there to assure you you're safe, or to alert you that there is something that needs further attention. Dean Jackson once said that listening is an art that requires attention over talent, spirit over ego, and others over self. Listen well, and listen to focus, to understand, and to inform what you do next. I'll see you tomorrow.